Hey guys!
Hello, good morning or afternoon,
Wherever
depending on
you
where you
are.
are.
Good evening for those of you
Yeah.
across the pond on the other side of the planet.
So I did the math, and this is our 12th roundtable. So
Wow!
we've done a whole year.
We did do a whole year. We started
After
this
WESA
time
last
after
year.
WESA, yeah.
So
Did you use your left foot? I mean,
I did.
I was gonna say, you're gonna start to take shoe off
It
at
was
some
tough.
point.
It was hard. But anyway, so welcome back. Hope you all had a happy January.
Yeah, this is our first video of 2024.
Sure is.
Yeah. Because we took, hopefully all of you guys have really enjoyed the Jim Linnell escapade that we did this January. Instead of being live here, we broadcast his videos from his class last year. So they got to experience Jim Linnell. He is a storyteller.
Oh, he is, sure.
He's got some fun ones. I thought I talked a lot.
You do.
Let there be no doubt.
He's got a very impressive collection of swoons.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
a lot
cool.
of stuff.
Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed that, and thank you for allowing us to take a little bit of a break. Sometimes it is necessary from doing 2 videos a week, 52 weeks in a year. That's a lot, so need a little refresher here. Plus, we had a lot of traveling that we did.
Yeah, you were gallivanting around the
I did
state
Texas.
of Texas.
I did I did Texas. I did it right. I got a hat.
And you all went to WESA.
We did.
So, how was it this year? It was that's, for those who don't know, that's the yearly kind of Western Equestrian Saddle Makers Association. Right?
Well, I don't think there's makers in it. Sales Association.
Sales Association. Yeah.
So
Western and
WESA.
English Sales Association.
Yes,
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
It's all the horse things.
Yep. And it was in Denver. Last year was the first time.
No, it's been a few years now,
This
but
is our third year.
third
year. Okay.
Yeah. So third or fourth, right? It right around
Okay.
COVID, because I think they canceled it the first year that it was supposed to transfer from Denver to Dallas. I think it was canceled. And then the second year, I don't think we went second.
We did it. No.
Yeah, and but it is in Dallas, and so
Because we went 2020 because it was
Yes.
January.
That's
Yes.
why.
It was
Yes,
before,
that's right,
and
that's
that
right.
was the last year in Denver.
That's right. That's exactly.
So
And
last
then
year
we
was the
skipped 2021.
Yeah.
Yep.
and then
Because
last
we went
year
2020, skipped 2021.
Then we only skipped one then because
Correct.
because we did do
This is-
22 and 23. That's the second
Yep.
time we've been there.
It was kind of a big deal. I mean, for our part of the world.
Well,
For our-
it was, and Liz was actually with us for part of that trip because we took her to Texas and then kicked her out. But
You can only stand so much, Liz.
So
They do put me at the back of the bus.
So this show
Back in the
is
car.
this show is vendors, retailers, wholesalers, suppliers of and it's in a giant 14-story
15.
Every single time someone says the story, Rusty's like, no.
There's a different amount of floors.
We always
every year.
change
it. 15 floors.
So it's in a indoor shopping mall, and it's basically a wholesaler mall.
And that's exactly what it is, because there's a lot of those floors that have permanent booths, and so if you own a game store that sells puzzles and cards, there's a booth or there's a
They have
store
a
or
store.
10 in there that sell to you. If you sell, baby T-shirts and onesies and things like that, there's a store for that. If you just everything that you can imagine, and then there's a couple of places that are stores that sell to stores that are displayed for their store. So, and you and I hit that one last year. And so,
You're in retail. That's the place to be.
oh, for sure.
But on 2 floors of this indoor shopping mall, there is WESA, the show,
Yeah.
and that is different vendors and suppliers and people that we've known for years and years and years are there, and it's a good chance to meet them face to face. So 3 of you went. What did you see? Hear, smell, eat, taste?
Oh, we did have the best pizza.
Oh,
Best pizza.
You know what? So we were with the vendor, and we got to meet the owner of this tannery, and it was the first time, and his English was pretty broken, and so they put me down there because our English is about the same. And so as we were talking, I noticed there's this Italian cookbook on the table behind him, and so I ordered it online, and I got it the other day, and I bought it from a used bookstore for like $4 or something, and this thing is like this thick, and it is fantastic.
Legit?
Yeah.
Very
I'm like,
nice.
yeah.
So Rusty will be making us some Italian food shortly. We can expect that for the next potluck.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so we did that, and then we did have a good steak with Herman Oak on Saturday night. But outside of that, it actually was pretty nice because it wasn't terribly rushed. We went longer this year than we normally have ever gone, and that was because to be able to be there in time to meet the owner of the tannery from Brazil, they needed to be there earlier in the week because he had been in Leon and came up, and then for us to catch everybody else that we wanted to and catch dinner with the folks that we wanted to. We stayed through Saturday afternoon and evening and left out on Sunday morning. But, as far as getting to talk to people, I think we talked to probably more people this time, or just as many people as we've ever talked to, as seeing people that we've dealt with in the past and some that we continue to deal with, and some we made some new acquaintances too, which is always a good a good thing.
I thought it was a little different in the sense that, the people that we did talk to, of course, that first day we were there, we didn't, it wasn't a heavy-duty buying day or anything like that.
We just
kind of
acclimated.
We window shopped.
Yeah, we acclimated and window shopped.
Well, yeah, and we wanted to see what's going around, what's happening, that kind of thing. What can we expect, in the future?
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of eye-opening. At least it was for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
A lot of rough out saddles, I can tell you that.
Yeah, that puzzled me.
Well, last year was the bling.
Well,
It was kind of still in
the
fashion.
bling was still in, and this year we
It's just not.
we just didn't see as much of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Lots of color, though.
lots of color.
Lots of color.
The bling was replaced with color, so to speak.
That's
Yeah,
kind
lots
of a
of
big deal
pastels.
because
Yeah.
I was about to
You
say,
We
used
walked
to-
around. There was pink and blue and
Turquoise and
purple, like
purple,
cowboy
orange
hats
and-
everywhere.
and a lot of like pastel colors.
Mhm.
yeah, huge.
Used to be you'd go and you'd see these distribution stores or booths, as you call them, and man, every other one would be so sparkly. You need sunglasses to walk by them, and they were not there. Well, they were there, but they didn't
They
have
weren't
the
so
need
sparkly
for
this
sunglasses because
Yeah.
there was like a couple in those whole floors, just a couple of booths that were loaded up with the bling, like the kippy belts from years ago. Otherwise, man, it was just like you said, colors of
Mhm.
leather.
Well, and something that was interesting too is the handbags, the hats. They were decorated in a different way. They were blinging themselves because they were orange or turquoise or whatever the case may be. But the accents given to them were much more subtle. They were using branding irons on the felt hats and decorating the hats that way. They were using leather hat bands and lacy and some feathers and stuff like that.
A little more
They're-
earthy this year.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah,
A little more
with
earthy.
that
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
a good one.
Yeah,
Even
picture
your
in my
rough
head.
out saddles would have pastel colored seats.
Yeah, weird seats.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
usually
So-
you see like a darker seat or like a black or a brown, and then that's kind of interesting.
or an
Yeah.
exotic,
Yeah,
is what we've seen in years past. So one thing that we took from it is colors are, really what we're wanting to work on, making sure that we offer this year. And, obviously conchos are always going to be there, but
Yeah.
didn't
They
look
weren't
like they're
the
going to
big
be
thing
the big
that
thing this
they
year.
always-
Spots.
Spots.
Lots of
Spots and
spots and
hammered
rivets.
spots and
there
rivets
was
and
a lot of hammered spots,
hammered
yeah.
spots and
Okay.
nails and stuff like that.
Earthy.
Earthy.
Earthy. Yes.
Nice earthy texture.
Okay.
It didn't have any spots or nail. It had nails around the bottom of it, but there was a fantastic hair-on ottoman at one of the booths
Mhm.
that was really close to
Probably
this
this square.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. And it was a medium red brindle, and it was tucked with buttons. Oh man, that thing
It was
Oh,
nice.
that's cool.
Well, I noticed that's one of the things that hit me in particular was the hair-on thing
It was a lot.
is really going forward. I don't
Mhm.
know how else to describe it because hair-on's always been popular, but now it's changing. It's adapting to us as a society, I guess, because you're seeing things like, you saw a few acid wash hair-ons over the years, but then there was more, and then there was weird ones, and then there was
And now there's
tie-dye.
more and weird.
and
Yeah,
well, and
like
then now there's
acid
like
wash.
metallic-y
Metallic.
acid.
It's
Yeah.
just the amount of hair-on that was there that's just different and strange.
Yeah.
And
They're having fun
was,
with it.
Was immense.
So
So we're going to see a lot more of that.
we got some of those. We were talking about the acid wash.
Well,
Distressed.
you're going to see a lot.
Yeah, distressed Was that the?
Yeah,
that's the
those
one,
stressed
yeah.
out
kind of
there that
really distressed.
it's pretty crazy, and we'll we've dipped our toes in the water for sure.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think this is the first year we've even, because when we buy cowhide rugs, we buy them by the pallet.
Sure.
Like, that's just how, any of your standard ones, we buy it by the pallet. This is the first time I've heard of us buying acid wash or any of the fun kind of creative rugs by the pallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be like 10 here, 15 here.
Yeah, or just individually pick the ones that you want. And so,
you can still do that with our vendors. Of course, they're, I don't want to buy a pallet of one color of acid wash rug.
Yeah.
But our vendors are.
I'm glad he put one color in there because I just bought a pallet of acid wash rug.
Well, they're so nice to us that they'll allow us to try something and experiment with it and see what we can do, and then we can go forward from there.
So that's exciting.
But along that same line, the other thing that went right along with those rugs was the printed leathers.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw a lot more of the high dollar printed stuff.
Hair on acid washed rugs that are printed with alligator print.
Yeah, real print. They're getting crazy, guys.
If you can shake it all up in a mixer and throw it out there, that was it.
The Southwest prints on that ad, hair, laser cut, every kind of thing you can imagine.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool. So I think that's something that our customers could be thinking about is making use of those printed leathers.
Yeah.
And making use of hair-on products. And that's kind of nice because just as an advertising plug, we're one of the few people where you can buy a little piece of something.
That is correct.
Sure.
And even the hair on is in that.
And once we get that palette of acid wash, we can kind of see what we do with it. Can we make up a couple little bundles? So
and that's what we talked about.
Whole one,
that's exactly what we talked about. Maybe quartering up some hides and putting 4 different colors in and trying to mix it up to where it's as usable for a customer as possible.
Like doing those, or like a panel and a toe, or just like the front of a bag. And we saw so many like the animal print hair-ons, which we got some, and they'll be on live shopping tomorrow. But we saw a lot of handbags with that really nice, cool, going. This is a little bit going to the zoo exotics, but on rugs.
Combined with those spots, those rivets, and everything else, man, it's kind of I would say it's trending that direction.
Well,
absolutely.
And to add to that, I think people are just utilizing the hair-on in different ways than they have in the past. Actually,
that's a pretty good way to put it. Yeah. It used to be this is an accent piece by my way. If it was on your chaps, it was the yoke or it was something like that. Now you're seeing more and more of the full bag, jackets, coats, vests.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing any hair-on belts. I just don't recall. Maybe there were some there.
I didn't really see any.
No, they weren't. In years past, you would have saw those things with all those rhinestones and studs on them all over the place, but they weren't there. But
there was a lot of tool belts.
Bags and clutch purses and accessories.
There's a lot of tooled bag.
Yeah,
lots of tooling.
Oh, wow.
And mostly as accent, but then I think we picked up some bags and like the whole front panel is tooled, and then there was the cool one that we were just debating. That's the word I'm looking for. Debating whether they had taken and they had wrapped the gusset with what looked like a cutout. Remember that tool?
Oh yeah.
And the edges weren't scalloped. It was like it had been hand filigree cut out, and it was sunflowers.
It was like a sunflower belt strip motif that had been literally cut to the shape of the sunful on the side.
And it just went all the way around the gusset.
And we were just like, Lindsay was like, let's get a cutting die. And we both just laughed at her.
Yeah. She's like, I want a cutting die for that. And I'm like, that's $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, we can do something with this, but we won't.
But there was a lot of accented tooling stuff that was.
And that's cool. Very encouraging to hear that the tooling is kind of making its way back into fashion.
And who was buying it was the Western stores.
Mm-hmm.
The Western stores, the small mom and pops, and the larger ones even, they were out in force. Yeah. They were buying products to resell. So I kind of had the feeling that folks had held back over the past year or so, thinking, just get by, see what's going on. But this year it was kind of like, well, Mom, I think we better go to WESA. We just need to stock up. And they went and stocked up.
Yeah. And if you guys remember last year, Denny did like the tooled lapels because I had seen a few the year before at WESA. And so I was like, oh, I've got a great denim jacket. Let's put some tooled lapels on it. Those were everywhere. You can buy them. You can buy the denim jacket with the tooled lapels. It even had back panels with fringe, all that fun tooling on there. So
I actually think that somebody could probably make a pretty decent supplemental income offering tooled lapels for suit jackets.
I think so.
Or custom designed lapels, leather lapels for suit jackets. I think they could do that.
Well, they'd probably be able to sell you, 4 or 5, right?
Nah, maybe not.
Well, I've even seen the Heron and some of the tool stuff making its way into high fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing some bags from these big fashion designers.
Don't take me wrong. That, like the one that she picked out that she just had to have one of, it's very fashionable looking. You know, the way that the rest of the bag is built around it really gives that a pow. You know, just like a bam. Here it is. You know, this is what's special about this bag. You know,
well, that's encouraging for our industry as a whole.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, if it's making its way into high fashion, and we're seeing this trend, like we have our customers here that probably are really good at tooling or using hair-on stuff.
Something that I don't know how many people do, but we've got a couple of customers that do this. They just simply tool for other people. Meaning, I've cut my piece out. I want you to tool this. You tool it. I don't tool.
Sure.
You tool it. I'll put it on my bag, and now we're able to sell it. And exactly. And that's what makes the world go round, so to speak.
That's really cool. That's really neat.
I made I don't know, maybe you've seen it. I made a tie, a leather tie, filigree tie for myself many years ago.
We should do that.
I made the stupid thing when I was in Rochester, Minnesota, and that was in
other words, he was inside.
1978.
Well, you did a picture of a dude that you hadn't done since like the 80s, so I have confidence that you can still make
anyway,
moving right along.
I found this tie at home here a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why I ran across it again. It was probably hanging up on the back of a hook, and I thought, I want to wear that. So I took and I wore it to a function. I got more comments from that tie. Kevin, that's a really cool tie. Wow, where'd you get that tie? I said, I made it. You what? It's leather. It's what? And my point is,
we're gonna do that.
That kind of thing is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Again, I should say.
Again, it coming back around. Bringing bell bottoms with it.
Maybe
bell bottoms are bringing. Yeah,
they've been
maybe
there.
bell bottoms are bringing. No, I'm not joking.
Okay, all right.
You could trim
trim the bottom and then tool the bottom of the bell.
Yeah, fringe it.
Tool bells, guys. Tool bells.
Well, moving on.
All right, well, moving on.
There is no reason why you could not do that, Elizabeth.
I do have some bell bottoms.
Well, I know you do.
They're pretty legit. They could use some tools.
So
maybe I wouldn't trip over them then because it would add some body to it, so they wouldn't flap over my other shoe and then make me fall over while I'm wearing them.
2.5-ounce leather and just glue it on there with. I'll bet you could glue it with Beaving's leather cement.
Oh,
it'll glue to fabric.
Yeah,
and maybe stitch around it. And you do.
He says.
You could probably wash it. I think.
So we saw a lot of leather, or you guys saw a lot of leather. We're seeing some of it coming in now.
Yep.
Well, if I could interrupt, the other thing that we saw was oil tans. Oil tans, and more oil tans,
and you guys have seen some of those
colors.
Oil tan,
jewel tones are a hot deal, and we have them.
And we have some of those leathers here with us.
We do.
Okay.
Let's show you guys
now?
some fun leathers. Yeah, I brought some new stuff that's headed in.
Oh, well, I didn't know you brought them. That's not oil tan.
No, we didn't bring any.
But this is new. This went live today. This is our gilded.
Yeah,
you might put your sunglasses on to see this one.
That is
kind of
gorgeous.
We have this in two different prints. We have the Paradise Floral and then the Western Tool, right?
We have large. Yep. There's a large and a small.
Boy, I wish they could be here in person to see this because I really don't care so much for gold-plated leather, but that is gorgeous.
It is phenomenal.
You tried
Yeah,
to,
it's-
it does match the prints that you
It's kind of got that
it's not.
two-tone, the tad bit of coppery over the gold.
Right.
isn't
So
it?
your gold is your base color, and then your foil over top is
There
kind
you
of gold.
That's beautiful.
So that just went live today. That was a newer one that.
What else you got there?
This is really exciting, I think.
This is probably my favorite leather that we picked up.
Oh wow!
And
So,
it may be hard to tell,
it's
but
the
that
Croco
is
floral.
metallic-y when you
Yeah,
see it.
it
It's hard to
is.
tell in there.
This changes appearance from one. If you're standing here,
Yeah.
it looks one way. If you're standing over there, it looks different.
So this literally just arrived last week. We don't have the numbers made yet, but here in the next couple weeks, keep an eye out. It'll go into our new items on the website once it makes it through the process here. But loving this, guys.
This
Purple
will be
and turquoise.
this will be some of the ultimate tote bag leather.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
pretty
real.
phenomenal. And then we've got a couple fun new gator colors
Oh yeah.
that we brought on.
Oh, that's going to be another great one.
So are these
So
some of the
purple-
colors? The purple was still kind of
Purple's,
copper.
yeah, purple
Purple
Yeah.
is a
was
thing.
everywhere.
We got
Gray is a thing.
Ooh, that's a turquoise.
Yeah.
we got all the colors of this
Yeah.
gator.
Well, and then there's actually more than this, isn't there?
Well, this is what I found on the rack.
Yeah,
so.
no. I think we did some that were gator with the floral,
Yes, and there was a yellow.
and there was a
There
really
was a
cool
yellow. That one I think was back ordered for a minute from the
That
vendor,
was
so they
good.
don't
Yeah.
quite have it yet. But we will be getting in this lovely purple.
And the neat thing about these colors is they are kind of like a pastel, almost like a. I mean, they're bright
Mhm.
though.
Jewel tone.
Jewel tone, yeah.
Jewel
perfect.
tone. Yeah. So we got pink, purple, and blue in this. And they're nice and distressed. I love the kind of vintagey.
They're a little on the pricey side, but
Well,
I'll
they're
tell you
regular.
what.
They're going to be our regular, like $11 square foot embossed.
Yeah, and
What
we're
they are.
working
So they
on
are
trying
a
to
little
get that
on the
down.
pricier side, but they are beautiful. Yeah. Super lovely there. And then lastly, this is one that I grabbed
Oh,
and
yeah,
brought
yeah.
in. This.
Oh,
Come
that
on.
is that is rich.
Come on.
Yeah.
I like that.
That is
So-
just really.
Really lovely floral. And I think this is the one that came in the yellow too,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. So we have this coming in like a yellow distress, and then maybe one other color.
That's right. There was another color.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So this
And
will
the
be in a
pattern
couple
is
different
just
finishes.
such that you could use it for a tote. You could
Well,
use
and
it for
that
clutches,
was what we
accessories.
really liked about it was if you wanted the flank of the alligator, you could
Yeah,
get the
you got it
floral, the
right
flank,
there.
you could get the belly, you could,
Yeah.
and the
Some
the print,
upholstery.
right? The print in itself is small enough that you could do some of those decorative, the ladies' belts that they wear on the
Yeah.
It'd be a
outside,
really cool wallet bag.
right? You could
Yeah.
go either direction
Yep.
and really get a lot of use out of it.
Very versatile.
And just so you know, one of the reasons this is expensive is because it takes skill to make it.
These are hand dyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry can sit there and take a sponge and go over that and come
Yeah.
up with this effect. 'Cause
Yeah, like a lot of these little accent parts.
Yeah.
They're going over
This
with by
challenge.
hand.
So we did find some awesome colors to bring into our line and our selection. So we are very excited about all of these. So keep an eye out on that new item page in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, the new item page is about to blow up, I think.
So
Well, that's exciting. So that's some cool stuff. And then we also got, besides leathers, a whole bunch of handbags.
yeah, I wasn't part of that. I mean, I was part of the first batch.
She's as guilty as
Kevin
anyone.
likes to buy purses.
You know, to go along with that, handbags are a part of the leather industry. They always have been, will be, and we've always sold some handbags, but we've
Mhm.
never sold a large quantity of handbags, and we've never really stepped into the higher end handbag market. And
Yeah.
we have done.
We found some really cool conceal and
We've done
carries.
both this
Mhm.
time. We're
Yeah.
going to do some quantity, and we're going to do some super
Mhm.
high-end stuff that's really, really nice. That'll be shown before, I don't know, too long.
Yeah.
Well,
At some point, we might just do like once we get it all set up on retail, we could do a little tour. and
Right,
put it
right.
up.
And
And
you
the
got to
video.
know that we have between 7,000 and 8,000 square foot of retail, so we have a fair bit of walk-in traffic, and they just see leather and come in and want to buy something, and we actually sell a lot of home decor, leather, decorative
goods,
stuff,
yeah.
finished goods and stuff, table runners and things of that nature. So
Pillows and, yeah.
we're creating a spot on the website for that, for those finished goods, for table runners and accent pieces
Russ,
and the handbags as
it's
well.
interesting that you mention that because those things are, how do you want to say it? They're subject to fashion.
Sure.
People look at them, they decide what they like, what they don't like. You know, the leather world's composed of a couple different things: functionality and fashion. And even the functionality
It's fashion.
is subject to fashion, because if the guy wants a pair of work boots, well, I only want black ones. Well, I only want brown. Well, it doesn't matter. It's your sense of fashion that determines what you'll get. But at the show, one of the things I noticed was, of course, every boot manufacturer in this country was there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of them.
They have their own floor.
Yes. And there was two that really caught my attention. I'm sure they did yours too. One, who we've dealt with for a number of years, owns, 5 different brands? And I don't know if we should get into naming these people. Probably not. But these guys have been very good for us. We work back and forth. They make a great product. All their brands are very well accepted.
And these are very well known.
Very well known boots.
Yeah, well,
everybody would know.
I know for sure. I have one pair of.
So at any rate, they've been in production for years and years. Make all kinds of boots. So we go to visit with them, and the gentleman, the owner of the company, we were speaking with him, and we noticed that one of the tanneries that we're in a relationship with was speaking with their operations manager. And we told the owner, I said, those guys have got some good products and some great pricing on their leathers. You really ought to think about doing some business with them.
The big thing was their service, though.
Yes, that's
their
right.
service.
And we can speak more about that, too. But we told him you ought to consider a relationship with these guys. And the first thing out of this owner's mouth was, what are their minimums? And I said, I'm thinking to myself, why are you, owner of 5 different large, well-established boot brands, concerned with minimums?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you? A drum load's 2,000 feet of leather. You make boots for everybody under the sun.
Why can't you go through 2,000 feet of leather?
You use tens of thousands of feet of leather.
Well, he said, anymore, we do so many small runs. That just shocked me. Because here's this guy, lots of boot companies. He only wants to buy 3, 4, 500 feet of a certain leather so he can make these boots for this customer in this store in Lenexa, Kansas, or wherever.
Almost more like a boutique production of boots.
So my boots I bought here in town from a company that's a very big company in our area, and on the inside, the pull tabs, when that company built those boots, they built them with their pull tabs on the inside with their name on them, and that's how that small run, that, and it was a kind of a unique color ostrich hide, and so they just made a small run of those, and it just, when you don't really click that, it's like, oh yeah, well, they've got their name on the inside. Well, wait a minute, that had to be done in production, and that meant that leading all back to these small batches.
Well, and the thing about this company is they're not like the big name companies like Justin, for instance. I think everybody knows Justin. Justin is a boot company that's been around forever. Some of the others are the same, but they produce a certain standard of boot, I guess, maybe not standard, but a certain style of boot, if you will, that's rather plain compared to what others produce. They've got their fancy ones, but they've got some that are not. Whereas
when you go look at Corral, and it's just like fringe and filigree and a million different
I was
prints.
so surprised last year when I was walking around some of those stores. I'm like, people wear these boots? Like, that's a little extra, but
So this company that we're talking with and is looking for minimum quantities is one of those guys that's willing to adapt to what the customer wants, and the tanneries are willing to adapt to them.
Right.
That's a big deal out there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of goes back to Springfield Leather's history. We're trying really hard to pass that adaptation factor that the tanneries give us on to the customer. Hence, you can buy a half of a pair on Calvin.
So we really have covered 3 and 4.
Well,
but I mean, we're on that. I'm just saying, let's open that up.
Sure.
There's more to it, too, because you mentioned Corral. I guess since you mentioned that, we could talk a little bit about them. Corral is run by a a man named Fernando Quadra, who at one time owned the public transportation system in Leon, Mexico. That's huge.
Well, yeah, because Leon has 2 to 3 million people.
Yeah, it's huge. Now, I don't know if he still owns that anymore because there's a lot of political stuff going around in Mexico. But he does own shoe factories and tanneries. And he has the Corral line of boots, along with a couple of others. And Corral is just what you said. They are super, super fancified.
I love looking at them. They're gorgeous shoes.
They are, but they're an intense amount of work.
Yes.
So you remember when we met him, Rusty, as we were last day, he was leaving his booth. We met him with his suitcases, getting ready to go, and he was a little bit downcast. Do you remember what he told us?
Yeah, I remember. He told us that in one day they had sold so much production that he had to leave the show early to go and figure this out. And Kevin made a comment, oh, good. No, this is a problem. I don't know how we're going to be able to keep up with this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and to narrow it down, he said, we actually sold an entire year's production in one day. One day, an entire year's production and more. Yeah. He said, we sold more than everybody up here.
So cowboy boots are in.
Mm-hmm. Well,
sure.
his cowboy boots are in. Mm-hmm. And once you see his cowboy, you understand the difference.
Yeah.
But he was, like Rusty said, we have a problem, Kevin, in Mexico. We have a problem in Mexico. I have to go down there because I don't know what we're going to do. We have to figure this out. Yeah. And again, that kind of goes back to where things are trending. I think his boots, there's not a lot of bling, but there's a lot of artistry, I would call. Some bling, but more artistry than anything else, I thought, goes into his boots.
The filigree that they do is incredible.
Exactly.
I would almost like bohemian-like. Maybe that's not the word for it. Boutique.
Be aware that we're not plugging one boot company over the rest of the boot companies. And please don't take it that way, because the company that we were speaking of before does some very nice boots.
They all make really great boots.
They all have their own niche, and everybody at the trade show in the boot industry seemed to have a good show. And we know that because going back to the first person we were talking to, there are boot companies, retail stores that are opening several, like a store 3 digits in the next year or two of stores. They're opening several hundred stores. And so the entire boot industry at the moment should be really seeing that surge. This is asking what we've seen and the demand. And so that's a good thing. It's also putting a lot more of those small run potentials in place. And so what we got from the whole thing is overall, no matter who felt like they did the best, the entire industry of boot sales seems like they're going to get a surge forced upon them, because they're going to have to fill a couple hundred stores.
Yeah, they're going to have
that's not their choice.
They'll have a couple good years ahead of them. And another thing that I noticed too, that exotics are still trending very well. Sure. And this expansion in the boot industry and of boot sales, like Rusty's talking about, is really a good thing for us, in the sense that some of the boot manufacturers that we deal with, they buy exotics, and they can't use them all. Yeah. Because they buy some that's unacceptable, they buy some that's too small, some that has defects, some that you can't help but do that, and we end up with it. Well, it works quite well for our customers.
What it also does is that the tanneries that deal with the exotics, and let's use Elephant for an example, the tanneries that deal with the exotics, they want to tan all the leather that they got. Everybody wants to tan all the leather that you got. But you can't really justify tanning it unless you have a customer for it, right? So that doesn't mean that scrappy, smaller stuff goes away. It means that they're possibly throwing it to the side because they're trying to keep up with this boot manufacturing company, right? But if there is an outlet for that, then they will go ahead, because it's all tan. I shouldn't say tan it. They don't finish it.
Right.
It's all tan, so it's all in crust. So what that allows us to do is that allows us to get those small 1, 2, 3, 4 square foot pieces, because you're not going to get a pair of boots out of a 3 square foot piece without a whole lot of crafty patchwork. So what it does is it makes all of those small parts available to the market if there's somebody to buy them. Those are our customers, because you guys can use those pieces, which means we're able to get them at a lesser rate than what the boot companies are paying, because they want the huge panels. We don't. You don't necessarily.
Well, and
So it puts a lot of that into the market that wouldn't necessarily be there if there wasn't the demand for the boots.
Yeah.
Then you've got the scrap.
And to take it a step further is that we've developed a kind of relationship with different tanneries that if we wanted to, we can get these crusts in and say, you know what would look good on those? This finish. And we can send it to a tannery that can do the work, and we're providing them with work.
Sure.
And they're providing us with some finished.
And it still all comes in at a lesser price than, I don't know, I think the last price on elephant I heard was $38 or $40 a foot.
It was expensive.
Yeah.
So, and one of the nice things about that is that there's not very many distributors that are allowed to bring elephant into the country.
Right.
I think it's just one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a couple other leathers as well. So when these people bring a shipment of elephant or hippo or any other exotic leather into this country, they can tell, they order it from the tannery says, we have your leather ready. And they will ask them, you know, Kevin and Rusty talked to us about some smaller pieces of elephant. Do you guys have any smaller pieces of elephant that you can add into this shipment? Oh, yeah, we've got this or that. And that's how it ends up coming to us. So it works out pretty good.
I'm going to make an observation really quick. You know, some of you may know that Springfield, Missouri, we just got blessed with a Buc-ee's. And Liz and her husband Chris were in Texas, where there's a number of Buc-ee's.
We went to all the Buc-ee's.
And now I'm looking at Luna walking around with a Buc-ee's chew toy in her mouth,
You
and
got
I'm
that-
just like, of course.
She got that last
She-
year.
Okay,
Last year.
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
She did that for a minute, but we did hit all the Buc-ee's. Chris loves them a lot, and we hit like he would schedule
the
like
beef
our
jerky?
stops. He'd be like,
the beef jerky is
The beef jerky
phenomenal.
bar?
yeah,
Yeah.
So we
It
did
really
hit,
is. I've been to a few
5,
of them,
6.
and they're pretty amazing. But no, I haven't been to the one in Springfield.
They got the signs. Like you're driving down the road, and it's like Buc-ee's 103 miles
Yeah.
away, and you're just like, and then like when they're putting one in,
Oh my
like
gosh.
they have a sign. Like Chris was sending you, he was like texting them, and there was like Buc-ee's signs, like Buc-ee's is coming, Buc-ee's, and like you could see that it's under construction.
Yeah.
And there's like a sign every mile on both sides of the highway that's like, watch out, here we come. And they're pretty good with their marketing. It was
They're
actually
pretty good.
like it was good. It was good.
Sorry, didn't mean to change the subject.
But
I
we
just
still
noticed
haven't been to the one here in Springfield
So,
because
yeah.
why?
We know the Buc-ee's industry is doing well.
Yeah.
They sell some cowhide rugs and handbags.
Yeah.
They actually do. They
So
actually do.
overall, let's just kind of summarize the trip. How do you think the leather industry is faring now? From the last couple of years, and what do you think we'll continue to see?
It really, it's a very good question, because parts of the industry are slowing down, certain parts, and other parts are running like gangbusters. And like the boot industry that we talked about, running like gangbusters. Other areas are not running like gangbusters. Maybe they're changing, they're adapting. And I kind of think that I think the veg leather industry is undergoing some changes right now, maybe a little bit. I don't think that's particularly as strong as it was, say, 1 or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more competition out there.
Right.
Do you think that's like an influx of, they handle this leather, just been sitting around, and then finally they have an outlet for it, and it's kind of like flooded the market a bit? Or do you think that there's
one thing is, and let me know if you agree, you've got tanneries all over the world. And if you focus on Brazil, Argentina, the South American countries, Mexico, and those tanneries are really focusing hard on getting new customers. And why is that? It's because overseas, China, for instance, the demand for leather products is down. So they're not buying as much leather. So the tanneries, they want some new customers. Some of them want new customers really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Guess where they go? The United States. They'll fly their reps here to visit people like Tandy, Weaver, Springfield Leather, maybe a few others. Or their reps that they have will start really reaching out to people like us. And I see that. How you feel about it?
I agree. I concur, Doctor. I was being motioned from outside the door.
Oh.
Well, one thing about like the boot industry being such a big thing, like boots are an investment.
Mhm.
When you buy a pair of, they are not cheap. Like a pair of boots is not a cheap thing for somebody to go buy. And so that kind of makes me think that people's mind shifts are starting to change from maybe a little bit more of like short-term, fast fashion situation to a longer term, I'm going to spend a couple $100 on a pair of shoes and they're going to last me a decade.
Well,
And that kind of a thing.
think about this: people in this country now are making more money than they've ever made. If you look at where the decimals are
Sure.
at,
But
and the
things are more
commas,
expensive.
exactly,
Yeah.
the check's bigger, but that's coming off of a whole bunch of extra money interjected into an economy. That changes the way people spend money. Now they're willing to spend that $200, $300, $400, whatever, and it's pretty easy, and they're blowing it on whatever they're spending on whatever. We can now afford a new car. Well, then the economy begins to do whatever the economy is going to do. Things begin to, as I like to refer to it, correct, and then you see people being, I still want that, but I want to make sure that that's going to last me. So they become they're still willing to buy, but they're more frugal in where they want to spend that money.
They're going to do quality over quantity.
Yeah. I think that's what you're going to see in 24. I never shied away from the fact that 23 was going to be a weird, challenging, soft year, and I believe that it was for a lot of those in the leather industry, whether you're in a supplier situation, you're in a distributor situation, you're in a customer, to an end user, anywhere in there, you felt something different. Now, you know, the other thing that I believe happened through the injection of money is it gave a lot of people the opportunity to go, you know what, I'm sitting here at home and I'm getting paid. I'm going to go out and I'm going to open the doors on that shop and I'm going to see if I can't turn this into a business and maybe I just won't have to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that have gotten traction off of that, and that's wonderful. That's great. Then that has to kind of balance itself back out too.
Right.
You know, not everybody hits home run every time.
Yeah.
So I think 24 is going to look up for the entire industry in whatever form or fashion. I think you just got to be looking at making sure that whatever you're supplying to your customer, you're giving them the best for what they're paying for it. I think, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not telling somebody how to price their merchandise.
No,
I'm
sure.
saying even for us, we are just trying to make sure that we're doing the best we can to offer the best value for the money that you're going to spend.
Sure. And, you know, I've always seen on forums and stuff, people will say, am I asking too much for this? It's like, well, if it's well made and it's handmade, I think people are willing to pay that extra money for something that is going to last. And you're kind of seeing that.
There's a website, and this guy's been around for quite a while, and I don't want to name drop, but this company makes, for lack of a better word, it's kind of like the African safari dude from the 30s and 40s.
Oh, yeah.
The kind of the bags and the journals and the notebooks and all the leather is this certain color. Guaranteed, though, there's one briefcase on there made out of American alligator for $10,000. On that website, there's always one or two things for $10,000 because I'll tell you what, there's always a customer.
Yep.
You know, but it has to be built on the back of quality to begin with, obviously.
Yep. It's going to be a lifetime bag you pass down to your kids.
Exactly. You know, my thing is you got to make sure that you've got stuff to sell. And so, you know, when you go to a show, maybe you got that $3, $4, $5 stuff out on the table. There is nothing wrong with having a $400 handbag sitting back here, right?
Yep.
You did that. There's nothing wrong with having that priced that way. Mm-hmm. So, you know, people wanting to know how to price their stuff, I get it, especially as a beginner. You want to make sure that you're doing the best you can. You know, there's a customer for everything.
For something like that, I'm glad you mentioned it because people have always, as long as I can remember, said, well, I just don't know how to price my stuff. I just don't know how to price it. I'm sorry. If you can't price your stuff, you just shouldn't be in business. That's kind of the way it is, because you'll make some mistakes. There's no doubt about that. You'll realize it soon enough because it'll hurt, or you'll realize that, hey, I can't keep doing that. Pretty soon you'll figure it out. I mean, we did.
Yeah.
Some stuff's got to be expensive. Some stuff doesn't have to be expensive.
You don't always have to make the same profit that you do on one thing that you do on the other.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I think
it's
another takeaway from this kind of 12th roundtable is that, this year is the year to get creative with those things that you may not have used before. Like hair-on stuff or colors or,
Well, and that's really what
conchos
we're trying to
or not
do
concho spots.
with all the things that we're bringing, and the reason that we cut it gives you the opportunity
Yeah.
to try it
It's
without
all about
having to buy a
giving
big
people the
piece.
opportunity.
That's the elephant.
you can
know,
buy 5
but to your
feet
point,
of leather.
to your
spend
point, I
$50
think this is
instead
a
of
good year
$250.
to get in and try those
Yeah.
new things.
Yeah, who this customer comes in, he made his wife a tote bag with a square. He made it, the bottom was printed leather, and the main part of the body was hair-on, and in the middle of that hair-on, he had a square of this Aztec print, whatever on there. He made her one. Next thing you know, her friends want one. Next thing you know, their friends want one. He's made 11 bags, and he's tried to price himself out of work because he has a regular job. It's not working. So, why did it happen? Because he could buy a small piece of this and a small piece of that and a small piece of something else to see what worked, and something worked.
Stuff.
You gotta try stuff.
Yep.
And and that just alludes to us having to be creative on how we offer, stuff to you guys. If you want to try something out, give us a shout. Or if you want to have an idea of a new bundle that you're like, I would love this to be an idea for a bundle.
Email Kevin.
We'll talk. Yeah, email Kevin with details.
I would like to
He'll
say
make you
something
special
about a new
bundles.
bundle. Okay. We've made this thing.
What is it called?
I don't know yet.
Okay, we don't know what it's called yet.
I'm thinking about maybe a remnant bundle, because we have access to so many leather remnants that it is not funny. Mostly bag leather.
Is it the bundle we put in the box?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So if you got one of those $100 mystery boxes,
Then you would have got one.
okay.
So in this bundle, there's roughly 40 square feet of leather, but it's in remnant pieces. Some of it's been folded up, it's wrinkled. Some of it's nice, flat, smooth, and really high quality stuff. Others low quality stuff. There's some you probably put in the trash, which would be dumb, but you might think that you need to do that. And if it was up to me, if I had one of those and was told to be creative, I would start making journal covers with all the wrinkly looking stuff. I'd make really cool looking journals. Or I'd make
And then call it earthy.
make adventure bags, pouches, things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe some wallets and some clutch purses.
And maybe those things are a little bit cheaper, and the things out of the non-wrinkly leather are more expensive.
Or you could turn the leather over, set the iron on low, and just
Some of it
flatten
you'd
out.
probably want to iron it and
Yeah.
get rid of the wrinkles, but some of it you don't have to. Some of it's really pretty nice. But the value's there. What, you're gonna sell that thing for $15?
For 40 square feet of leather?
Yep, it's about 38 cents.
But
Like, I
the
don't know if we're
pieces are
making
going to
any
be
money on that.
anywhere from like this. The pieces will be like from this up to 5-6 square feet. I don't think you can beat that. And if nothing else, you ought to get one out of curiosity, look at it and say, wow, Martha, I hate this. Or pull out the really super good piece of leather and just tell yourself, hey, I'm going to make my money on that. Give the rest to the neighbor kid. He'll love it.
Yeah.
Or you could email Kevin and ask him how in the world we're making any money off of that bundle.
We're not. But we do
Kevin
have
likes
some.
to
So we got some leather,
We
though.
do have
Yeah.
some remnants.
If you got the $100 box, that was the bundle that was included
Yeah.
in it. And I think
And
when Nicole-
also, Kevin is really good at checking his own emails. That's his one big
Yes.
pet peeve in the world, is you check your emails.
Yeah, you can just email me at rusty at.
Well, I think we got a lot of good information.
It's
and,
been fun.
That was a lot of good stuff. Seems like it was a successful show overall.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot.
It's always it's so nice to see our vendors in person and just get to chat with them. And they sit down with their suitcase full of weird random stuff and they start pulling it out and they're like, oh, I forgot I had 180 feet of this. And I'm like, I have the perfect customer for that.
Yeah.
Holler at some of our bag makers here and be like, hey, you're looking for purple. Do you want 180 feet of this? And they were like, yes, please. So, yeah, I mean, it's little things like that. And for those of you live shoppers or people that call and talk to our customer service center, you know that you can kind of build that relationship with Springfield Leather. And then that is the kind of thing that we do for you, you know. So
yep.
never be afraid to send us an email or give us a shout or stop in and talk to us about what you're doing. Because we do our best to
make it easy for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we like to do that. Our vendors like that. Like I said, this dude was sitting on 180 feet of leather that, you know, his client that took the leather couldn't sell or didn't want or whatever that it was. And he's like, this is just in my warehouse, just hanging out.
You know, there was a good example of that. One vendor that we're doing business with, he had sold some leather to a customer in Texas, and his customer said, no, we can't use that. That's rejected. Well, we got it and sold it like the first day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we make the world go round with the leather here. And it is expensive.
Sometimes it clumps.
All right.
Well, happy crafting. Get creative.
Happy January.
And
happy days.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you next month. Bye.
Bye.